is 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting of the Oscoda Township Planning Commission meeting to order on May 1st, 2023. If everybody could please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have guests. I'd like to welcome all of our guests to our meeting today.
Thank you.
If I can have roll call, please.
Ms. McKenzie, Mr. Tasher,
Here.
Ms. Beckner, Mr. Schultz,
Here.
Mr. Palmer,
Here.
Ms. Hopcroft, here, Mr. Linderman.
Present. We have a quorum. Moving on to item number 5 is the approval of the planning commission meeting minutes. We have 2 of them in our packet. The first one is April 3rd, 2023, our regular meeting.
I'll move to approve it. Then,
We're gonna do them one at a time.
the first one,
The April 3rd,
April 3rd.
is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Ms. Hopcroft, seconded by Mr. Schultz to approve the April 3rd, 2023 meeting minutes. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Tasher,
Yes.
Ms. Hopcroft,
Yes.
Mr. Linderman.
Yes, motion passed. Moving on to the special meeting minutes of April 17th, 2023. They are also in the packet.
I'll move to approve them.
Do I have a second? I'll second it then. Second by Linderman. Motion by Ms. Hopcroft to approve the minutes as presented, seconded by Mr. Linderman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Tasher,
Yes.
Ms. Hopcroft,
Yes.
Mr. Linderman.
Yes, motion passed. Moving on to item 6, agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I guess I have a point of order here. I believe that per our planning commission bylaws, we are in violation of how we should be running this meeting, as we have 2 board members from Oscoda Township serving on the planning commission at this time.
That's loud.
And our bylaws specifically state that, we would have a representative. So how does that work, that we have 2 representatives on the planning commission?
Well, the board appointed Mr. Taser as a member of the planning commission. The board also appointed me as a representative. And until the board changes that, we're allowed to, according to our attorney, we're fine. State law allows for 2 possible trustees.
I understand, that the Michigan Compiled Law Act 33 Planning and Enabling Act, because we were a planning commission prior to September 1st, 2008, we can have, per Michigan law statute, 1 member, 2 members if the second member from the township is the supervisor, or none. So the planning act says we don't need anybody from the township on here. But our bylaws clearly state we will have a representative from the township. And by Mr. Taser being appointed to the Oscoda Township Board, that makes him an Oscoda Township Board.
Well, the state law overrules any bylaws that we could read, first of all.
But the state law doesn't require you to have 2 members.
No, but it does allow it, for our attorney. Now, our attorney is a specialist in municipal law, and I will go with what she says we're allowed. She's what we're allowed. Now, we'll be changing this once I bring up to the board to make a change in how we're structured. But the legislative body is the township board, and the township board appointed Mr. Tazier as a member of this board. They also appointed me as the board representative. And until the board changes that, this is where we're at. And according to our attorney,
So
This is fine.
we asked our attorney if we can run the planning commission disregarding the bylaws as we have.
if our bylaws are in violation
Our
of state law,
bylaws are not in violation of the law.
well, they would be.
No, there wouldn't be. There's two different things. You know, bylaws, unless I'm misunderstanding, you know, is a set of rules established by the organization, us being the planning commission, to regulate ourselves and how we operate. So we asked our attorney if we're doing something contrary to our bylaws, and she said, that's what you should do. That's what we asked her. Because I've never seen anything, I thought that maybe that could have been shared with the planning commission, the attorney's opinion on how we should be running it.
She probably wasn't showing the planning commission bylaws at the time she answered that question.
If she was asked whether we're in violation of Michigan law, that's not the question she needed to be asked. The question is, can we run a meeting contrary to our bylaws? That does not violate the state law. Our bylaws are not violating the state law by saying only one township board member can be on the planning commission. That is perfectly within the law.
Doesn't it just say a representative, it doesn't say only one?
It says a representative, yes, so you can interpret that as multiple representatives. A representative, doesn't say a representative or representatives. I mean, if the bylaws are wrong, we need to change them. We should have changed them before now, but
I believe our attorney made her opinion based on what the state law is. And
So, she did not take into account
I don't
our
know.
bylaws, so
She's
what,
very aware of the bylaws. She's actually reviewed the bylaws when Nicole was reviewing. So she's very aware. And it's not a permanent situation, it's just operating
This is
as a
temporary.
board at once.
I'm not saying that that's, whether it's permanent or just gonna be one meeting, it doesn't matter. So what we're saying is it's all right not to follow our bylaws. So if we're going on record as saying that the planning commission doesn't need to follow their own bylaws, I guess I'm all right.
In this situation, because the state law allows what we're doing. Until the legislative body changes the structure, which is a township board, which we'll be doing at the next board meeting, this is what we have. And according to our attorney, we're fine.
But if we're gonna just depend on, why do we have anything in, so our bylaws shouldn't have anything that would be covered by state law included in it then. So malfeasance, all that stuff, we should pull all that out if it's gonna revert back to what, and I think we're losing the point of why, what the bylaws are for, is how we are operating this board. And our bylaws are not contrary,
Yeah,
what are you looking for?
I wanted to look at what you just read.
Well-
That's not the bylaws?
No, I can pull up the
Oh,
bylaws.
I think I'm not there.
I suspect we asked our attorney the wrong question to get to where we're at.
If I can, ask you, Mr. Palmer, the whole goal going down the road is to appoint a person from the board to represent the board in this commission,
Yes.
You can go down.
a single legal person. Or are we gonna go with 2 or 3?
According to our attorney, we could have 2. My feeling is, I would prefer to just have 1. So when the board meets at the next meeting, we will be taking up appointments to several different boards for township, board members. But until the board acts, both Mr. Taser and I were appointed by the board to be here. And we can't change that until the board changes it, according to our attorney.
I can harmonize it if I may.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. So the language that Mr. Schultz is very correctly referring to says the township board shall appoint a representative to the planning commission, which they appoint, and who has the duty of reporting the actions taken by the township board back to the planning commission. So I think that the way that we can construe this and make it work, within the context of all of those regulations, is that only one of these guys is allowed to report back to the township board.
That's correct.
And then,
Because
otherwise they can both be here.
until the board takes action, I am the representative from the township board. The fact that Mr. Taser happens to be a township board member, he was still appointed by the board to be here. And according to our attorney, we're allowed to have two board members here. I don't personally feel that's a good, I don't wanna see township board members taking over all the boards that we have. So at our next meeting, I will have the board appoint someone as the representative from the township board to the planning commission. And then we'll be back to one member, which I think is appropriate. But according to our attorney, we could have two if we chose to do that, because that's allowed under state law. And whatever we write in bylaws is fine, but it can't override what state law says.
Well, to echo what, I heard Mr. Schultz say, in what you said also is, there was 3 opportunities to appoint, a member to this board, the day that, I was here for that meeting to be appointed, or Mr. Tajer. Second, there was a regular board meeting, and then there was a special board meeting on a brownfield, discussion. So there was actually 3 opportunities to correct or appoint to this board. And I do believe Mr. Schultz has a valid point. Ms. Hopcroft, do you have anything else to add?
Well, I think we can harmonize it as I stated, just by taking the qualifier on the duty of the one, but it is a glitch, and I think it's a good catch by Mr. Schultz.
So maybe moving forward, you could not even have anybody on the board from the Ascona Township Board. You certainly could do that, because that's within the law, right?
Okay.
Even though our bylaws currently state that we would have one, because the state law says that, so,
Well, the state
My
law
opinion,
doesn't
we should-
mandate that. It says that you could. It doesn't mandate that.
it doesn't mandate that you have two.
No. But
But
it's
we're
law.
mandating that we have 2 board
It is law.
members on here right now. In fact, had this planning commission been established after 2008, we couldn't do it by state law.
That's right.
Because we're really affected by whatever it is, PA 385, I think, the previous law, so. All right, well, that's an interesting interpretation. I guess, I'll go on record that I would like to be at least given the opportunity to engage our attorney when we're talking about items that involve the planning commission, or if when I remain on the zoning board of appeals, to at least be given that opportunity, because I've never seen any correspondence. I understand they're confidential, so I couldn't look at them, which seems outrageous to me that would be the case, that a planning commission member can't read and understand what the lawyer is telling us, because I believe that we didn't ask our lawyer the right question to get the answer that I think we would have got had we asked it differently. But we'll go I'm on the record saying that. In the future, I guess I would ask to be involved, at least given the opportunity. I don't expect you to stop what you're doing, but calling the lawyer about zoning and planning commission business, I would like to be given the opportunity to at least hear what the lawyer's saying and give my input.
I concur with that. If it has anything to do with the planning commission, we should be involved with discussion and the decision.
I agree with that too, Mr. Chairman. I think it would only make us a better planning commission. Maybe in the future that could be organized so that when there's advice given about the planning commission, we can be in on that, but not in on things that are confidential or have to do with another branch of government.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting up with me.
No problem. Moving on to item 7, public comment. Public comment can be on any topic. Oh, number 6. Oh, the agenda, yes, because it's already up there. Back it up to number 6, agenda, any additions, corrections?
I have a correction, it's not a special planning commission meeting. That was my typo at the top of the agenda, it says special. It's just a regular.
All right. Other than that, any additions or corrections? I'll make a motion then to accept the agenda as presented with the correction.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Linderman, support by Mr. Schultz. Any discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Pazer?
Yes.
Ms. Hopcroft?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Linderman?
Yes. All right, now we're on number 7. Public comment, 4 minutes, I do not have one of those fancy clocks, so you can bear with me 1 second. I am going to fire the computer up and pull the clock out. I have it. Yes.
From here?
Yes, fine.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Larry Holland, Scota resident. First thing, excellent dialogue. Mr. Schultz, good commentary on bylaws. Just so you guys know, what the state law says is what the state law says, and that's where you begin. Bylaws restrict down, and you can bind yourselves to those questions that are more restrictive than what state law is. And if we're going to rely on attorneys, and we run into this at the township meeting all the time where somebody says, I talked to the attorney, I did this, I did that. If we're going to rely on the attorney as an administrative hearing officer that makes determinations on legalities, then every one of you trustees and board members should be asking for the written question and the written advice of the attorney. Because just like judges that are operating in a hearing capacity where they're making determinations that are binding this board, you should ultimately understand that you are relying on hearsay evidence in the interpretation, and you should object immediately if somebody is saying something that's not produced to you by a written order. You should get that in writing, and you should always stand behind that, because that's how you root out that hearsay stuff. And I'd like to hear it as a public person. I'd like to know when a determination is made. And I would like to know how many times the attorneys are making determinations in which we should have professional board members to be able to make these determinations by reading, processing, and getting the job done. Moving on. Next thing, I understand there's a gas station coming into town, potentially. It's here. I understand that there's a couple gentlemen here that may be associated with it, so I'll try to keep this brief, because I'm not going to make it under 4 minutes. First off, I understand that there was some potential variance that was offered at some point by this board or a board that allowed for the 20-foot canopy to exist for said gas station potentially. That is something that when I look at plans that I've seen floated around on this, is that we are piecemealing these plans a little bit at a time. And I want to see a completed plan that incorporates a traffic impact study, because that is a damn busy area coming through there, to know how much traffic is going to be coming through there. Plus, we've already approved additional developments in there that are going to increase the traffic flow dramatically right at that choke point. I also wanna know if we've done all of our due diligence in the federal side and state side, and if this planning commission has seen what those federal rules are and those state rules are, because we haven't had a new gas station coming in a while. Guess what? We've got a lot of contamination from what I understand in this town. I don't need another point that's within the watershed of where there's already a gas station that's very aged across the street, catty corner, and then there's a creek that runs through and dumps into the AuSable River. I wanna know that you guys are doing the studies, so I don't have to, and I don't have to get an attorney to look at this, to see what these rules are, to even know if the ground's been tested, what the ground status is over there, because there's a lot of wells going in over there. There's a lot of activity in there where the ground's being penetrated, and we have existing contamination problems in this town. We need to be conscious about it, and we shouldn't make, rash moves. It might be a good idea to put a gas station over there, but we might wanna also do some additional due diligence. So even before I get started with the environmental regulations, noise regulations, has the planning commission offered to say that we're gonna restrict the time period because there's an adjacent residential zone? Are we going to restrict the hours of operation for said gas station? That is within the guise of our noise ordinance. That is within the guise of approving conditionally said things. Lighting, luminescence report. What is the light pollution that's gonna be generated to the residential adjacent property and to the airport? Has anybody talked to that whole area over there to know what that luminescence is gonna be or how bright it's going to be? Looks good on the landscaping and screening. I also wanna know exactly where the ventilation systems and said stuff, or scrubbers or anything that's gonna be needed that are gonna be on this property where there's gonna be new underground tanks. I wanna know what that design looks like. I don't wanna read somebody's plans that say, we're gonna go ahead and, as owner approves, with planning commission approval. I want a completed plan. I wanna see itemization. I wanna see every point so that I don't have to make guesses about such things, okay? That makes sense to me. I wanna know that everybody's doing as much homework as I am, cause I just started today, okay?
Thank you,
Good.
Mr. Holland.
Is it 4 minutes?
Yeah.
All right.
Unfortunately, yes, sir.
Is there a second, public comment period?
There is not.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi,
Nancy Roy. I'm going to take us back to the conversation about two board members on the planning commission. You have on here, what is it, item 11, that he would resign. Why didn't that get put at the beginning of the meeting to handle that? Otherwise, maybe only have one board member allowed to vote on anything during this session. The other one recused themselves. That's all I have to say.
thank you. In the back. Yes, sir.
Brian Haley on Scotia. I think the last time I was here, Taser here said that we were gonna get, some EMS training coming forward. And I would like to know the status on that. I would like to be involved with that heavily. The reason being, in a positive way, of course, is, we really, when we switched from the board taking charge of the 5-year master plan, and then they put that over to this commission, I can't say we lost a lot of knowledge. They didn't have a lot of knowledge there either. But what we all need is more knowledge about the finest park development grant program in America. And to this date, I've been having good meetings with Mr. Palmer in his office, and I appreciate that. But that's not the same as all of us getting on the same page. I've never been more enamored with a piece of legislation that was developed in 1976 in this state that other states have tried to follow. But when you do the research, which is available, people talk about social media, it's a great tool. I use it as a tool. On my personal timeline, you will find 6 items directly from the DNR. There's a wealth of knowledge there that anyone can pull. So I shouldn't have to go around. I don't mind doing it so much because it is so important. But what we've done with FERTAW is a disgrace. And I said so at the time, I said so in 19 to Schaefer,
You're gonna violate the stewardship clause if you try to put a government building there. That calmed down for a while, then we brought in a DID director. I won't talk negative, but he was not a township employee. Now that really messed up the chain of command. It messed up morale. He ran around reckless when I tried to meet with him, where he would gather more, learn more about the DNR trust fund itself. He didn't want any part of it. He did not want any part of it. He had his mind set that for apartments or whatever would be far better. Well, how can you make a decision like that if you don't even know about the program? And that still is going on to this day. So I'm asking that we do bring in the training, no matter what it takes. But in the meantime, this commission and the trustees of the Ascota Township Board, in their rules, we want to talk about rules tonight, they are to do research. Clear as a bell, it's stated there, to do research. And if we'd have all done our research, we wouldn't have done any harm to the finest grant program in America that was for Fertall Field. It's custom made for Fertall Field for the economic development of this town as a regional draw park. This ties in nicely with the MEDC walkability scoring. It fits perfectly. It should never be one or the other, all of the above. The DNR Trust Fund is up here. The MEDC does some good work. They're not codified in Michigan law, none whatsoever. So monies are there. You can't project out what you're going to get from the federal budget. When you're looking to do your research, you want to know source money. The source money for the DNR Trust Fund is us. It's in our minerals. Those monies have to be let out by law. There's 1,700 municipalities in the state of Michigan. Only 170 can even apply. We slapped that thing upside the head, disrespectfully so to the prior board, and continue with this current township board. And I'm hoping the planning commission, we can all get on the same page on training. I believe in training. In the meantime, all of that information is available on my timeline. I've kept it this top 6, so you don't have to go searching through. It's right there. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 second. Yes, ma'am.
Teresa Leandino, Ascota. I own the property next to the proposed gas station and behind it. We currently have around 10 residents behind it. There's an easement to get into the property that is 15 feet that butts up to lot 38, which is the proposed gas station part of it. They have 17 feet, and then in the back, is where the proposed storage tanks would be. Sorry. So I'm wondering how the gas tankers are gonna get in there to service and fill up those storage tanks. I'm certain they're going to be using my easement. I have big concerns about that and how we're gonna protect that easement. I pulled up my deed today. My easement is in that deed. It is drawn in, it is written in. I pulled up lot 38's, it is not. So I gotta get some clarification on that, and I would like to have some time to get that clarification. So, and then I'm also concerned about the noise, the water runoff, and how these are going to vent. Because we are right on the line with residential people living there. That's it.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh, and the lights. I would also like a light lumen survey, because I don't know, on those canopies, they're 20 feet high, how those are gonna shoot off into the residents that are living there. That's it.
Anybody else for public comment?
Yeah, Raymond Catula, in regards to the gas station and your concerns, so we would have shielded lighting, and as far as the ventilation and placement of tanks, everything is gonna be, you know, up to code and required by the state and also the, Michigan DEQ. So everything would be, up to code, and like I say, any concerns that come up, we can address and make sure that, we can protect the easement as well. And as far as filling, they would be coming into the Party and Food Center driveway and be able to fill up that way, so they don't have to come into the easement. And, that's it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else for public comment?
I would just like a point of order, just, more of a question, if that would be allowed.
Sure, go ahead.
Is this, final project eventually going to see a public hearing, at any point in time? Or is this, the only public comment that's going to be allowed at this point? Because, my only request I didn't make is that I would, merely request that there be a 3-month delay so that additional research can be done to see the entire amount of the plans, because of the DEQ and everybody's saying it's all gonna be above board. That should obviously be incorporated into the plan that you can consider, because the municipality has, the final say-so, when it comes to that state and federal, component, so.
All right, thank you. That'll conclude public comment. Item 8, old business. This is just a synopsis of cases that we have that have came before the board and are still in process, in the various steps of the process. That's informational really only. Moving on to,
I missed a number again. I used the same agenda as last time. I'm just putting in number 9.
bypassing number 9, on to number 10, new business, calling case 106-2023. Is a site plan review for Ramon Catola?
Yes, Raymond Catula?
I'm sorry if I
No problem.
if I butchered that.
No problem.
Ms. Collette, do you have the background on this?
I do. Case 106-2023 is for Oscoda Properties LLC. They've applied for a site plan review application for the proposed gas pumps with a canopy, which would go on 5684 F41. And they are proposing to change the location of the front door of the existing business at Party and Food, and that's 5692 F41. They are in process of combining the two parcels. And the properties, let's see here, the parcel numbers are 064-A30-000-03800, that's 5684 F41. And 064-A30-000-03300 is 5692 F41. It is zone corridor business district F41 zone. And when the properties are combined, they will be 0.815 acre. Let's see here, Mr. Catola would like to demo the structure on parcel at 5684 F41. And he would place the gas pumps and canopy in the side yard. He did receive approval on his variance request with the Zoning Board of Appeals on March 20th, 2023. So gas pumps, they are allowed by right as retail sales general. The variance for this project was that accessory structures are allowed in the rear yard only, and the canopy and pumps are considered accessory structure. But the way his lot is situated, he's at Party and Food there, it's on a corner, so it's a front, side. And he just also, part of it was wanting the gas pumps fronting that main road there. So that did receive approval. Does need to be considered that there is that easement on 5684 F41. It is a 15-foot easement that goes to lot 38, which is behind this lot. And that cannot be blocked. So at the variance request, I know it was talked about there, and Mr. Catola did say that he'd be willing to work with the other property owner for a satisfactory way of blocking that, whether it's a fence or landscaping. But I we don't have that on this plan, so this is something that, you know, when he's out, we need to discuss. And then, so we go by section 7.3, site plan review in the ordinance, and it does not call for a traffic impact study, or an environmental study, so that has not been done. But all other applicable standards have been met.
All right. And I believe the applicant is here.
Yes.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
And as far as the easement, working with, is it Teresa? Teresa. Yeah, like I said, we can work on that and make sure that, you know, it's satisfactory. If it's something, like I said, was it something that you were looking for more of a fence, or are you concerned about people driving on that?
That your big tankers
Uh-huh.
that come in to fill the tanks.
Right.
Yeah, that will just, cause I don't know how they're gonna make that swing on 17 feet
Yeah,
with a fence right there, because the curb, it's the curb, 17 feet, and then there would be a fence or whatever it is, and then our 15 feet for our residents. So I just, and then you have the storage tanks for the gas, so it's, you know, your tankers, if there isn't a fence, they're obviously gonna take that whole 15 feet and swing in.
sure.
And so, you know, I know what that'll do to the driveway.
Yeah, so that was also brought to the attention of Mike Russo, which is the engineer. And, you know, he's suspected that was the best position for it, and also brought to his attention your concerns. So like I said, they were also able to pull in from Party and Food Center to avoid that drive. But we can still put in a fence or something just to kind of work with each other and make sure everybody's happy, you know?
Yeah, I definitely would, I would have loved to have had this conversation before this, but
Sure.
no one got a hold of me.
Yeah.
So this is the first time you're bringing this to me, so this is how I had to, you know, come here.
Any board questions? I'll start with Mr. Palmer.
Yeah, I have some concerns, not with the plan itself. I actually think this might be a good thing. I believe it would actually improve the look of the area there considerably. My concern is that, we recently were certified as RRC certification. Part of that certification was our guide to development that we put in place, as part of that certification. And under that guide to development, we are supposed to have pre-development meetings for these types of commercial developments, where the developer has an opportunity to come in and sit down with our engineers, who, you know, every project is different. There were some concerns about the contamination, and I had that concern as well in terms of our storm sewer there, because, you know, every gas station has gas spills and oil spills. I mean, that's just goes with the territory, I guess. But how does that impact our storm sewers? I think if they would have had this pre-development meeting with F&B, our engineering firm that runs our sewer and water systems, they may have been able to address that and understand better what Eagle might require in those areas. I think we're not being fair to our developers when we don't have these pre-development meetings, because those are an informal meeting. We don't have votes, you don't have minutes, you don't have those kinds of things. It's simply an opportunity for the developers to sit down with township staff, our engineers, whoever might need to be involved, our fire chief. You know, what does the fire chief have to say about this project? I'm sure he would have a comment or two on this. So I think we're sort of doing a disservice to our developers when we don't have these pre-development meetings and we bring this directly to this board, which is charged with making a decision on these projects. And to try and make a decision on a project when you don't have all the information, I saw an email today that our engineer looked at it on Sunday and said, well, I guess if, you know, you have the building permits and everything's okay, I guess it's okay. But to me, that isn't going through the process of getting all the information on a project like this. And I think it's a great project. I would be in favor of it. I'll say right now, I'm in favor of this, but not until I have some of these questions answered, because, and I'm sure they would be fine. They have Russo Engineering, that he's well-known in the area, knows, you know, his engineering and what has to be done here in Iosco County. I just think, you know, if you go back and look at the minutes of our special meeting on April 17th, I made the comment in those minutes about the McDonald project. And I made the comment saying, we have to make sure if that development goes forward, that we adhere to the guided development and have the pre-development meetings with that developer before it comes to the planning commission. I can't emphasize enough how important that is. We've done this before. This isn't something new. We've done this, we've had these pre-development meetings in the past with other developers, and I think we need to understand that that has to be a regular process with any commercial project that is undertaken, because they're all different. Every one of them is different. This proposal for a gas station and a party store is completely different than an apartment building, different than a sports complex that Mr. Haley's talking about. I mean, everyone would be different, but it's only fair to our developers that we give them the opportunity to get the information that they need to make decisions on these issues that have been brought up here before it comes here. This is the body that has to make a decision. We have to decide, yes, we're gonna approve this, or no, we're not gonna approve it. I would love to approve this, I just don't feel like I have enough information on it. The number of questions because some of the questions that were brought up were some of the same questions I had. I'm sure they can be answered. I'm sure that our F&V and DEQ, possibly the road commission could be involved in sitting down for a couple hours with a developer and their engineer, with our engineers and people involved, we could get the answers to these questions. Tonight, I just don't feel adequate to vote in favor of this, even though I'm in favor of it. I really am. But before we make our decisions, we have to have all the information we need to have, and that's why these pre-development meetings are so important. And I don't want to lose our ROC certification because we're not following the procedures that were put in place to get that certification, and this was one of them. So that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a lot of, it's gonna take me a little bit, so I'm gonna read through this. On the site plan application requirements, number 5, it states location of all existing and proposed structures and uses on the site, including proposed drives, walkways, signs, exterior lighting, parking, showing the dimensions and typical parking areas, loading, unloading areas, common areas, and recreational areas, and facilities. I'm focusing on the signage and the lighting. Will the canopy that is proposed have any signage on it? The site plan mentioned lighting under the requirement number 11, the application requirement type, direction, intensity of outside lighting shown on the photometric plan is compliance with the exterior lighting standards, but there's no photometric plan included in the site plan. I would like to see a drawing of the canopy along with the lighting diagrams, included listing of the luminance. Also I wanted to mention that there is a resident area directly behind this proposed canopy, and I would like to know the effects that this would have on that residential area. Number 2, the site plan application requirement number 6, the location identification of all existing structures within 200 feet radius of the site. I see there are buildings neighboring the site. They're well within the 200-foot radius, but I don't see them included in the site plan. Show the proximities. Number 3, the site plan application requirement number 10, location and type and size above and below grade utilities. Have these been identified through our utilities department and engineering? I don't see them depicted in the site plan drawings either. Number 4, the site plan application requirement. Number 12, location of any cross-access management easement if required. There is an easement on 5684 F41 property that does need to be considered and as not to block access. It is not to be used by the gas station customers. Is this easement located on lot 38 or lot 37, which is located behind and to the east of this development? I'm not clear of the ownership of this easement, and in memo, I'm not even clear of where it is on a survey. Nothing is marked there. Under staff comments, Mr. Cotola stated at a variance hearing that he was going to work, and I heard that this evening, that he was going to work with the property owners to ensure satisfied on how that access is to be blocked off through fencing or landscaping. I don't see that on this site plan. I would like to know what the plans are for this area, who owns the easement, who has the right to use the easement, and who is responsible for maintenance of that easement. I see underground storage tanks are located directly up to that easement. We're using that easement as the 15-foot setback also. And I question that. Is that something that we are allowed to do? The semi-tankers turning radius would definitely impact that easement area if they came through that. And I don't, even though it stated that they were going to come in through a different way, the easement is still there. That doesn't mean that a truck driver, oh, I didn't know that, and still goes through and tears that area up. I need to know what the who would be in charge of the maintenance of that on that easement property for ingress and egress. The site plan application requirement number 16, the canopy on the list that I got said it was to be 24 feet high, and apparently it's 20 feet. I'm not sure of that. The one note that I said, well, whether it's 24 or 20, it's
allowed to be up to 25 feet.
okay. So I would like to know, I would like to have, there's no picture of what that canopy would look like, how it's structurally built. Our engineers can't even look at something like that because it's not there in the site plan. So I have questions about the engineering of that that facility, because it is a facility, it's a canopy. It's only mentioned in the site plan, it's not actually depicted in the site plan. So I don't know what that's gonna look like, I don't know what it's gonna be built. Is it aluminum, steel, wood? I don't know. It's not in the plan. So, and then site plan application requirement number 24. The method to be used to control any increase in effluent discharge to the air or any increase in noise levels from the site. What is the system used to vent those tanks, and will it affect the neighboring properties? Will there be intercoms between the pumps and the pay points? Will there be those screens with those audio communications attached to the pumps that you see on these gas stations today? I don't know any of that. They show videos. They can be very loud. There's residents within 20 feet from what I can figure, 24 feet or so, from where those pumps are going to be at. It's definitely, I can't say an exact measurement because it's not depicted on the site plan. I don't know the distance between those residences and those pumps. So requirement number 25 is the same question. The noise and fumes, venting on those tanks and audio communication and video, the hours of operation, that needs to be considered. There's several residences directly impacted by that site. The requirement number 27, the site plan does not give a description of the area including adjacent properties to eliminate the areas of change. We don't know how that's gonna look, it's not depicted in the site plan, how that's gonna be looking to change that, and that's a requirement. Requirement number 28 is no general description of the deed restrictions or the cross-access management on the easements, because that's not depicted in the, well, I couldn't see it on there. It says, it gives a lever number on it, but it's not in a description. It still shows where it's at, but I'm still having a little bit of a problem understanding that one, I guess. Under site plan application, requirement B, I would request that the site plan be updated to include the items that I question. I also, under requirement C, the evidence of the plan has been submitted to review to all affected jurisdictions, including but not limited to the Iosco County Road Commission, the Oscoda Township Volunteer Fire Department, MDOT, Eagle, and to our F&B and services and our engineers, of course. That's my feeling. And also, I'm not opposed to the gas station. I just want to make sure that we're looking out for the health and safety of the residents and the area around it. That this fits in a good fit for the area. I actually would really like to see those ATVs and everybody be able to go into that area, and it will clean the area up. It's just that there's just too many questions that aren't being answered in the site plan. Usually when I get a commercial site plan, I'm used to seeing, a roll of blueprints that is that big around, and it's got all of those things in it, and I was surprised to see only two papers there. So, that's my comments.
Gas station safety, so I'm not as concerned about that. I did think that the applicant, zoning board of appeals, looked at his request for the canopy, and he seemed very open to working with the residents and cleaning up the fence if necessary to protect the easements. I do feel that the applicant is trying to do a good job and work with his neighbors. And yeah, I think it's unfortunate maybe that we didn't have the opportunity to do the pre-development meeting. Shame on us for not having that thrown out there. That probably would have brought a lot of this stuff up so that we don't delay the project. But there's obviously some questions that need to be answered before things can be approved. So.
What's up, bro?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to echo the comments of my fellow planning commission members. Very good comments and very appropriate, and I also am enthusiastic about the project. But of course, we all want harmony and we want it to work well, and all these questions identified by Mr. Tazier should be answered. And I also want to add that the requirements in C, that the plan goes out to the various agencies. I have lived and worked in another jurisdiction in Denver, Colorado, and our planning commission for Adams County, we would get those reports and they would be submitted to us in writing, and we could consider them along with the site plan. So it wasn't just like, okay, well, if they're good with it, we're good with it. I think we deserve to know that information, and we should, to be responsible commissioners, we should have that information. So, I'm enthusiastic about the project. I'd like to get all of our ducks in a row so we all go forward together. The neighbors should be happy and satisfied, and if it can work out. And I'd also like that to be something in writing, something specific, not just like, yeah, we agree to agree in the future and it's all gonna be groovy, because I am a lawyer, I know it happens. So it's important to, really know, to go into it with good faith, but also trust but verify.
All right. I think everything's covered. The only thing I thought of, I think Mr. Palmer brought it up, is the fire department and spills. And I know Eagle does a pretty good job at safeguarding the communities. However, I don't see anything on this plan that reflects any kind of containment prior to hitting the sewer system. So I think the safer we can be, the better we are, because we've already learned some mistakes in the past, and I don't wanna repeat them. Any further comment from anybody on the board? Is there a motion to be considered?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to, express our enthusiasm to the applicant, but to deny the plan at this time, or to, I'm not sure what the best way is to configure it, perhaps Mr. Tajer will jump in, to ask the applicant to come back with the, completed, each element completed in the site plan, and for us to also have the reports of the relevant agencies, including our fire department.
Mr. Chair, maybe appropriate to do some kind of postponement on a decision, or you can't do that.
Mr. Tajer.
Mr. Tajer, you have something?
I think we could deny this site plan and leave it open for a new site plan, or they'll go through the process with the guided development to produce the, answers that were brought forward for this denial. But, any of those standards for, recommended standards could be a reason for a denial. And I don't wanna really shut this program down, this project down at all, because I think it's a wonderful thing. I just think it needs to be modified to the point, and, possibly a denial of this site plan with the hope of bringing a, new site plan to us that would, answer those questions and maybe work with the guide to development to get those answers, I think may be a better approach. That's my opinion. Or you could modify this one, but I would really like to see it probably denied with a new site plan, brought to us with the, working with our engineers and our people to, make sure that everything is completed. We went into RRC certification for a reason, and the guided development is a very important part of that. And I really think that we should, I know it would delay this project, and I'm sorry for that, but for me right now, it would be a denial of the site plan. So, I'll actually make a motion to deny the site plan for the reasons that were stated.
Draw my motion so that you may do that.
So we have a withdrawal of a motion by Ms. Hopcroft with a new motion by Mr. Tajer to,
Yeah, I would deny it for the reasons that were stated, I stated, in my deliberations, which I can give you that sheet so you don't have to try to figure it out. But, that would be my motion. Usually when you do a denial, you should give a reasons why, and I'm trying to explain that to the best of my abilities to.
Yeah, I don't know if I can speak at this time now or not, but I know there was a list of those that you had mentioned, and there are some of the answers that are on there, as far as the canopy shows on the site plan that is constructed by steel, and we do have the landscaping around the corner, separating the neighbor behind. So some of those that you did mention are on there, but the other ones we're definitely willing to work on, and we'll get those answers for you if we can get maybe a printout of what you're looking for, and I can share that with our engineer as well.
Well, my question on the canopy of the construction, that might have been depicted, but it wasn't the requirements of that steel and everything on there. Our engineer really didn't have the opportunity to go in there and calibrate what that actually was to see. That's why we have an engineer to do those, to look at that, and it wasn't the drawing of depicting of that canopy wasn't actually in there, just a written format of it, but not the actual building requirements. So
Ms. Willett, you have something?
I did before everybody votes. I was just wondering, some time ago, the attorney told me that if we deny, an application in a site plan, they do have to reapply, they have to pay again.
Oh,
Is it something we could
we could waive the
potentially
fees on
postpone?
that.
Well,
We've
that would
done
have
it
to
in
be
the
part
past.
of your motion then,
Yes.
so I just wanted to mention that before votes.
Well,
Okay,
I would add that waiver of
Think they
fees to
should.
reapply, definitely, we've done that.
Either that, or maybe we can come back, like you said, with a revision, you know, maybe revise the site plan versus denying it. And get all the
I'll
necessary.
withdraw my motion and I'll ask for a postponement, of this site plan, for 3 months,
Could you postpone it,
up to 3 months.
could you postpone it pending a pre-development meeting? With,
I could add that, yes.
I think that is the way we should have gone in the first place, actually. To have the developer meet with our attorneys and everybody that's involved, to get some of these answers ahead of time.
Ms. Willett?
I just would like to point out, you guys have mentioned bringing the road commission in, MDOT. They're not somebody that we typically bring in for pre-development meetings. It's listed right here in the development review committee process. The first step in the process is for the applicant to call the economic improvement director to get that scheduled, right here in our guide. And then the staff involved may consist of, it would be township superintendent, water department, economic improvement director, myself, and the township engineer. So I can't have it limited to saying there has to be the road commission, there has to be MDOT, we have to have Eagle in there, because they aren't people that typically sit in on these meetings. I mean, I can get as many people as I can, but if that's not available, that's not available, per our guide,
As long as we follow the guide.
so.
May I, when I made reference to the various agencies, I wasn't anticipating them sitting in on a pre-development meeting, but that when the material gets circulated to them, then we find out what they say.
And I wouldn't even typically circulate the site plan to the road commission or MDOT. I mean, maybe we need to put that into the guide somewhere, if that's.
Well, in this case, because of the way the lane mergers are in there, I would like to know what the road commission would have to say with that, because there is a deceleration lane there. And I'd be a little bit concerned about that. We don't have to have them in the meeting, but there are standards, even the, Eagle has standards for what, service station, gas stations are. And if we knew what those standards were, our engineer could review them to make sure that it was being followed, and the building inspectors could make sure that those were being followed, but we'd have to know what those standards are, ahead of time. That would be the purpose of the guide development. We can find out what those standards are and have our engineers look at it.
So the motion is to postpone for up to 3 months.
Yes, and to include a guide to development, pre-development meeting
Is that with a waiver on the fees?
with a waiver on the fees.
Same app, okay.
Not redoing this.
I'll support that.
Motion by Mr. Tazier, seconded by Mr. Schultz. Any further discussion by the board? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Tazier?
Yes.
Ms. Hopcroft? Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Linderman?
Yes. Site plan is postponed for 3 months, up to 3 months.
Up to 3 months.
Under new business, item B, case 107-2023. Site plan review for chickens.
This one's a lot simpler. I did not do a pre-development meeting for this, but it's just chickens, so, the applicant could not be here tonight. She works second shift, so bear with me here. answer a couple of questions that you guys have asked at the last couple of, chicken site plan reviews. So case 107-2023, is for Paulina 4464 M65. She submitted a site plan application for a poultry shed for 4 chickens. 4464 M65 Oscoda is zoned R3 mixed residential. The property is 166 feet by 200 feet, or 0.762 acre. The parcel number is 064 W20 000 She's proposing to build a metal chicken coop for 4 chickens with a fence around it. The proposed structure will be 24 feet from the rear property line, 24 from the side property line. I asked if she spoke to her neighbors about it. She said no, but she stated she didn't feel that they would have a problem with it as they are not extremely close to each other. The residences aren't. The feed will be stored in the garage, and she is planning to use the waste as compost in the garden.
Pretty much like our other ones. Applicant is not here, so board comments, starting with Ms. Hopcroft.
I don't quite understand the drawing, the 24 feet is from where to where?
Yeah, it's not the best drawing, it's all I could get from her. I added where the coop was actually. 24 feet from the rear property line, and then 24 feet in from the side. So,
Okay.
yep, not on, like, she's on M65, but it's, so behind her house, yep.
Mr. Schultz.
Everything, your recommendation is to approve this.
I should have said that, yes, my recommendation is to approve this, it's
I can't
pretty
wait until
standard.
this is an administrative function.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to get that changed.
We just haven't had the time to arrange a meeting yet to do that.
That's my only comment, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Patrick.
No comments.
Mr. Palmer.
These are pretty standard approvals, people wanting chicken coops. I did have a problem with the drawing. I thought maybe this was a vacant lot. They were just gonna put a chicken coop on. I don't see where the house is, or the garage. Is it in the front yard, or the backyard, or the side yard, or? You know, if you read the instructions for the diagram, it explains you're supposed to put where all the buildings are, so you know where it is relative to other outbuildings, houses and garages and sheds. If Ms. Lutt is aware of this property and it is in the backyard of the house, then I'm fine with that. I would just like to have seen a little more, I mean, this is graph paper and there's just a square that says coop.
Like I said, I drew that, and that's, sometimes getting info from people is like pulling teeth. I mean, and I fill in on a lot of land use permits, on site plan reviews, I fill in the zoning district, parcel number, the size of the parcel, I add to the drawing, but
Okay.
yeah, this one I did not add where her house was.
So this is in the backyard.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with people having chickens. You didn't ask the question of, are they having roosters, but that's
Oh.
not allowed, so.
Yeah, that's not allowed, and I did ask her, and that was a no, I'm
Okay.
sorry, it's just kinda standard to me that, they're not allowed, so,
Right,
she said no.
okay.
Most people don't want them.
I don't have any opposition to it.
Actually, Mr. Palmer, what I did on this one, I didn't drive out there, but I did do a Google Earth. And the house is towards M65 in the garages. But if this is going on the back, 24 foot off the side and rear, there's plenty of room. And there are no neighbors in the vicinity. But I did not walk the property, but Google Earth kinda gave me a better picture.
Okay. All right.
No further comments? motion?
I'll move to approve the application.
Motion by Ms. Hopcroft, second by Mr. Schultz to approve chickens, case 107-2023. Can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Tasher,
Yes.
Ms. Hopcroft,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Linderman.
Yes. Motion approved. You got more chickens. Going on to item 11, informational. In the packet, you'll see, a memo or letter from Mr. Tasher. To answer a question that was proposed by the audience, Mr. Tasher, resigned his position as vice chair. That's what that letter was for. If I believe it correct.
As stated.
That's informational. We have no public hearing for 12. Item 13, report on the zoning board of appeals.
We did have a meeting, for a variance on 23. There was, an individual wanted to put an attached deck to his house. If the house was only 20 feet from the property line, so he wanted to put the deck all the way to the property line. And it just didn't raise itself to the level of a necessity, and so we denied the variance request. There were multiple alternatives that wouldn't have been repeated that we threw out to them. I think they'll find another way to accomplish what they want without needing a variance, which is what we want. So,
Good deal. Next, item 12 is reporting for the township board representative.
Yeah, a couple items, possibly of interest to this commission. One is the board approved, we adopted a brownfield redevelopment authority. We also approved our drop-off refuse program, for June 10th and September 9th. Residents can take their large trash items, out to the landfill on Kings Corner Road. You can get a permit, that's $10 in the treasurer's office. We also approved the Mission Street slip lining, to go out for an RFP for that. What that is this has been kind of a bug of mine with the Air Force here, using our storm sewer system, free of charge, to get rid of the water from their processing plants treating for the PFAS. It is supposedly clean water that's coming out of there. However, these storm systems were not built to handle this amount of water. The central plant, the Arrow Street plant, right over here, is pumping 1.4 million gallons a day down that line. The Mission Street plant, we've had problems with that because we have root intrusion in there, and with the amount of water that goes through there, it plugs up from the roots and floods the villages over here periodically. So I guess the understanding we have right now is that the Air Force will pay to do this slip lining of the Mission Street plant, which should, according to our engineers, should take care of the root intrusion problem. However, they've not agreed to any payment for use of the central plant storm sewer lines, which those lines were put in by the Air Force, so they've been in the ground, close to 100 years, and at some point they're going to need maintenance and replacement, and I don't think that the township should be on the hook for that. We charge our residents for use of our sewer system, and the reason we charge is because we have to maintain those. We recently spent somewhere in the area of $6 million on upgrades to part of our sewer system. We're looking at another, proposal for 2024, where we'll be spending, somewhere in the neighborhood of, $17 million for upgrading, more of the system. And those systems can't be funded with tax money, they have to be funded with user fees. And so in order to maintain these systems, we have to charge our users a fee. So my feeling is if the Air Force is pumping 1.4 million gallons of water a day down our storm sewer, they should be paying for it. They're agreeing to pay for the slip lining in the one, but so far we haven't come to an agreement on the use of the central plant. So that's still a bone of contention of mine that I'll continue to harp on the Air Force about. I wanted to mention that we are having an annual meeting of the boards. Ms. Willett sent out an email to all the board members. That's for May 9th at 2 o'clock. And that'll be for all of the planning commission, township board, zoning board of appeals, so on. So that's pretty much all I have.
Item 13, report from the planning commission subcommittees. If there has been any meetings. Item 14, report from the economic improvement committee for.
Yeah, we had a meeting and we said that Priority Hill project, we designated that site as a priority site. So to help move that forward, that is allowing the project to apply for grants from the MADC and other as a priority site. Art and Placemaking made a presentation for 2023, and motions were made to approve all of those projects. And the Brownfield Authority Board sent a recommendation for a Brownfield Authority proposal for the apartment development on Steele Avenue, which the board did address the following day and approved a Brownfield Authority for that. So, and that had to be done by May 1st today. So, that's my report.
Anything else? Last thing on our agenda is comments from the planning commission members. Ladies first.
Well, I'm very excited that we have people here. Thank you so much for coming. I think it's a great tradition that we're starting.
Mr. Schultz. Mr. Tasher. Mr. Palmer.
Appreciate everybody coming out. I hope we can work with Tolas and get this reviewed and get the answers that we're looking for on all these different questions so you can move your project forward.
Sounds good.
I hope we can do that in a timely manner.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Don't be discouraged.
No, not at all.
We just have a lot of questions, as you heard from people here. I'm sure there's other people in the community that would have similar questions, and we need to get those questions answered and the details worked out. I'm sure we can do that through our different engineering, F&B, who handles our storm sewer, and they're very familiar with legal and requirements. And our engineer's very familiar with the road commission, so I think we can get all those things worked out and get your project moving forward, so.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to mention one thing.
Sure.
I wanted to thank you for investing in our community also.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I'd like to echo the same thing, is I do appreciate your involvement in our community and looking to bring new things to our community that is a service to our residents. So please don't get discouraged. I think you heard all of us support your project. We can work on some of the details and come back in hopefully 3 months and we can get this hopefully passed and started for you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing, Mr. Chairman?
course you can.
Thank you. I also wanted to thank Larry, Nancy, Brian, and Teresa for coming and speaking up. It's, very important.
And with that, Mr. Cole, do you have anything to add?
Just that I am bringing training to the area. I've been working with Bob and we're making the decisions together through, map to the pavilion. So I have reached out to all the surrounding areas to invite them. I did wanna mention the DNR training that was brought up, so I did reach out to John Mays. I never got a response, so then I went a different route and reached out to Lindsay, and she's no longer doing whatever it was she was doing within the DNR, so she sent my email to somebody named Samantha, and, as far as what they had to offer, basically, they just told me that there was a training recently and that webinar was available. So I just got that answer back Thursday, I was out of office Friday. So I'm gonna have to, I was very specific in saying that I wanted to bring some training to the area for not just our members, but for the residents, for everybody to attend, like at the pavilion. So I'm gonna have to find another route or get with her and ask if that's even a possibility. So just wanted to let you all know that I am working on that, and that's the update with it.
I'll work with you on that also. I think I can call Mr. Ward.
Do we have a date yet on making the decision?
June sixth, didn't you, I think you, signed up.
Yeah.
And then June 15th, I'm holding another session, I keep saying I need to make the flyer, that will happen this week, but it's ZBA specific, so for the zoning board of appeals. Everybody will still be invited, and I'm gonna reach out to all the other municipalities as well, so.
And we're looking for a fall one too, aren't we?
Yep, we're gonna
Build our own.
do that too. And that's it.
Ms. Klein, anything? It is 7:22, motion to adjourn. So moved. Thanks, everybody, I totally appreciate seeing people sitting in those chairs.